Hey neighbors, the handyman here with Initiative Coffee Company along with babyface Jake Del Maro. And today we're talking about DDAL 3-14, Death on the Wall, writer Greg Marks, editors Claire Hoffman, Chris Tulach, Travis Woodall. This is a 2-hour modules for Tier 1 play, tuned to 5 third-level characters. Having secured the First Lord's schedule, our heroes set out to stop his tyranny while he's away from Hillsfar. Introduction. The Stop. The module starts off at an inn named the Plodding Plow. At the Stop, a way station near Hillsfar, the players have a brief opportunity to track down some rumors and stories from the patron of the Plodding Plow. Jake, tell us about The Stop. Most known for the CCC Trouble at the Stop? Murder
I
at the
believe.
Stop?
Once again, my favorite part about Eleanor is that she keeps requiring and requesting adventures, but she never knows your name, even though she's asked you at least
Several
15 times.
yeah.
But she's like, "I need adventures." It's like, it's us.
Right.
And then she's like, What's your names again?"
Who else are you gonna call?
So if you're still running that and you want to just be silly about it, which I do,
which he does.
I always make it that they have to introduce themselves to Eleanor because she has no idea who you are, even though she's like totally requested you.
She's a busy lady.
She's a bard. She has her own thing going on. She doesn't have time remembering non-adventurers or like the fakes. So what happens is Eleanor comes like bursting through the door, like any right-minded person in this day and age does not accept backpacks from strangers.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We'll get there.
We're not there yet, but now she's like,
No. I mean, we're not there in the module yet. Part 1, an opportune conspiracy. As the adventurers sit down for their meals, Eleanor Lassadil enters, throws a backpack at the players, and flees. Immediately after, the Red Plume guards enter and chase. After a brief shakedown, the players can investigate the pack and find a new purpose at the Ulash Wall. Now go.
Okay, now I'm gonna do some like Quentin Tarantino stuff here.
Yeah.
Interesting. Plodding Plow, very weird place because it's just a random, like, name-wise sake. I guess it's just a cool place to be. It's what's happening. But there's some interesting characters here. Really doesn't, like, you got some cool halflings that are.
Yeah. This is like the diner that's part of the truck stop, that it's the only thing in town. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have like, the waitress that's like got a little bit too much sass for her own good.
Right.
But like then you get some interesting rumors. I'm going backwards on this one. And then you get to Eleanor throwing just a backpack essentially. Like, they found me, and then like toss.
Here, take this.
I'm pretty certain in today's age, if somebody did that to you, you just you dodge out of the way of backpack and go.
This
out
is like
the other
a
door.
thing they specifically ask you about at the airport. Like, this is
like,
not something.
It's like, and they have over like the intercom. They're like, don't accept packages from strangers.
Right.
Like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Then you got like the cool part about this is like this is one of those times where you can actively, like, you're encouraged to lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get to see where your characters are at, and like if they give them the backpack, I think the mission just ends. But it's really cool to like see that no combat and lying.
Yeah.
It's like some people are like, ooh, like hooray.
Right.
So that's really neat. Don't fight. It's 10 Red Plume guards. They're going to kill your party.
100%.
Don't encourage.
Yeah.
Like it's not even a question. And then they're wanted, and like then every encounter from here on out becomes 1,000 times more difficult.
Yeah.
Because dead Red Plume soldiers isn't really a good look for adventurers, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you bluff out the Red Plume guards. That's super neat, super dope. And that follows up into seeing what's in the backpack. Some pretty neat stuff, I'm not gonna lie. There's like some poisons, some more poisons, and I think there's a third poison, and then finally you get some Red Plume guard stuff. But last but not least, you get info, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's a note.
You get a note that's like describing what's happening and how essentially the effects of last mod have accelerated the timetable or something along the lines of things are happening quicker because there's been problems. And Brian, any thoughts? Anything else beyond that? I think
Yeah.
I
So the
got.
idea of the note is that it tells the party that someone needs to go to the Ulash Wall because that's where the First Lord is, and he needs to be eliminated. And so your party can take it upon themselves to do that. I think if you've been playing this whole series, like, your party members are pretty excited to kill the First Lord, so
Because they are the ones doing the replacements.
yeah. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect here between this mod and the last mod insofar as, like, all right, well,
You don't see the plan in action, I don't think. Like, you only get to see the results and, like, not the cool montage sequence.
yeah, there's a step missing here where, like, they put together the plan, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, it's odd to me that you discover the schedule and you get the information, and then
Last.
confusingly you're the last to know the plan, right? That seems peculiar, and only by chance, right? Like, you happen to be at this tavern where, like, I guess, like, as a DM you could play this up where, like, maybe
You set up a meeting or something.
maybe LNL does know who you are and tracks you down and tosses this to you. But that seems preposterous. Yeah.
There's not a chance at my table that that's happening.
Right. Or she does know who you are but refuses to admit it. I don't know. It just seems like there's a missing step, or, like, there's a needless roundabout here where she could have just been like, here, go to Ulash.
Why does this have to be done here and now? Like, that's the
Yeah.
other question for me. It's like, why couldn't she just, like, I guess the circumstantially she intercepted a package and then, like, they had an idea even though you gave them full detailed information of what was going to be happening.
Right.
Like,
it's like you gave them a schedule that said, like, First Lord will be
here
at
at this
Ulash
time.
at this time on this day, and she was like,
well,
but where
it does
will
bring
he
up,
be? Like,
it does bring up, though, it states that he broke off from the contingents, which I don't remember if that was fully detailed, but
Sure.
like, even still, I feel like on his master schedule, it'd probably say that. Like, or, you know, his schedule might say, like 10 o'clock tea, 11 o'clock travel, 12 o'clock, and
Yeah,
then 12,
I mean, I
12 to
suppose-
12:30 is like a break off. He's like, rest and other things.
yeah, rest and mild tyranny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, like, maybe he broke off in a way that was different from the schedule they found. Like, he is not sticking to the plan or whatever, but
Yeah.
there's lots of ways that as a DM you can kind of handle those seeming gaps in knowledge, and I recommend using
You do
any
that.
of them. Yeah. Anyway, part 2, the Ulash Wall. First Lord is holding up the Ulash Wall, and the party has fallen into his assassination. The party has time to map out an approach to the encampment, but not much. They'll have to work quickly to eliminate the First Lord. Through stealth, skill, guile, and bluster, they'll need to find an access point and take out the First Lord. This is another...
It's an open world they're trying to give, but, like, it feels not open world at the same time. Sidebar. Ulash, if people are wondering why Ulash is being utilized here, it actually has a deity underneath for corruption. Or they have, like, a massive monster that's underneath it.
That is never brought up in this module.
That's never brought up in the mods, but it's, like, seemingly super important at very random intervals. I've had to do a lot of research. It's very inconclusive, and I had my good friend Big Mario to give me details about Ulash.
Right.
And it is, in fact, there's a corrupting spirit entity existing thing that's just underneath the ruins of Ulash. Which kind of, I guess, was like, looking back when I didn't have this info, makes a lot more sense now.
Right, like, why they're meeting here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
in a season about how humans went freaking crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it makes a lot more sense now, but it's never explained. So, you know, it only took us 11 adventures to get here, but, you know, we got there. I mean, back to the actual Ulash Wall, as you said, it's kind of like they found themselves being responsible for killing the guy.
Yeah,
and
they've, like, stumbled into an assassination attempt.
And it does matter. I think you know, time of day, make this like a Metal Gear Solid. I think very similar to the last Tier 1 mod. It's like, be stealthy, because this can go up in flames real
so
fast.
this reminds me a little bit of, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the actual mod because we just call it the Battle of Firecrotch. Reminds me of Outriders from season 1.
The Outlaw.
Outlaws of the Iron Route, is that what it is?
Outlaws of the Iron Route. Yeah.
We're like this whole section of the module is about coming up with a plan and an approach, and then the next part will be about execution. But
it's dropping the hand grenade into the DM's lap.
Yeah, and like there are more resources here laid out. You know, there are assets you can turn to help you. You can poison his food. You can set the dogs loose. There's a couple of different things you can do to like get the upper hand in the fight.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about like coming up with a plan, and like this is one of those situations where there's no bad plan. I mean, there are some bad plans, but for the most part,
fighting the Red Plume Guard is a bad plan.
Yeah, but what I mean is like for the most part is like if the players come up with any wild harebrained idea, like just run with it. Like just lean in and be excited that they
came up with the plan,
a conclusion rather than the conclusion. You know.
I definitely agree with that. I think that there's, as you said, there's so many ways to deal with this. There's very few things that could go wrong, but there's also a lot of things that feelingly could go wrong. So maybe
could go
adjust.
Very wrong.
Yeah, it goes. It's like, even though I said kind of a contradictory statement. It's when one thing goes wrong,
right.
It's like
it sets kind of a pretty
very
domino effect. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if something does in fact go wrong, probably the best idea is to, at that point, maybe allow them a round to refigure it out. Like, oh, you just messed up your check, and now you give them a consequence. But then, like, oh, I've got a spell that can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
Let them do it.
Yeah.
Because running 25 plus Red Plume Guards into a bunch of level potentially 5s, if not maybe lower, they will die because they're not supposed to be there.
This is a tier 1 mod, so it's
a level 4s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're gonna die.
Yeah.
And
it's gonna be a bad day.
Yeah. So I would just play it as it is.
Yep.
I mean, there's not really too much crazy stuff here that can't be decided through just reading through it. You know, let them decide where they want to go. Let them explore, make appropriate checks if they're doing stuff that's like it's literally just a big skill challenge until they get into combat.
Yeah.
But I would just consider it as such. You know, if some people do well, some people don't. Narrate the good, narrate the bad, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Part 3, 6 Knives of Tauren Normathol. After the plan is hatched, it's time for execution. The party may have to draw assets to their cause, but likely they will have a face-to-face fight with the First Lord and his associates. There'll be a tough encounter with a knight and 3 guards. Surprisingly, you know, he can go down very slowly or he can go down very quick, right? Like, I think when we encountered him, he went down
got, like,
in
crit,
one attack. Yeah.
It all comes down to like one good rogue roll, and then he's dead. Like
Paladin can do very well here. Like
he's chunky, but like not that chunky. Like I would almost argue that it's like it can be a very unrewarding fight.
I mean, like, I don't know, like...
He went down in, like, one turn.
He went down in one turn of one player, which for that player was very exciting. And by that...
But everyone else is like, we just spent an hour and a half, we spent the last however long, 30 minutes hatching a plan to get
I mean, there is also...
stomped.
Right, there is also 3 other Red Plume Guards to deal with.
I think at the same time, there is value in stating if someone does score that kind of crit and slashes him down at one go, this is not part of the mod, which does, I guess, include non-AL rules, but like a will save, like a wisdom check, because if like you see your king just get murdered,
and then
I think there's an incubus with him as well.
Yeah. That same Incubus from the last module.
Yeah, he's like...
It's definitely time for a morale check. Like,
yeah, like...
And I guess, like, the notion of being able to, like, one-shot the First Lord seems appropriate, because I don't think of kings as being particularly hardy people. I think of them being bureaucrats.
But at the same time, like, the First Lord is still a knight, if I remember correctly. He's still, like, there's definite, like, if your group is smart, you can isolate him out where he can be the sole person in the tent, or sole, like, person in the room of the tent. And they could, the other Red Plume guards, like, you know, after they see the Incubus, will be like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And, like, there's a series of events that could happen where if your party's not interested in continuing combat, I mean, once again, this is like the first combat really
in this module.
Like in this module. So like if your players are cool with that, or if maybe you want to run a second mod in whatever it may be.
I mean, if you're trying to fill a 4-hour slot and you're going to run this,
you could do 312 and 314, and like have it as like a short go around and like almost have it as together, and then you could run everything. All the combat's been both mods.
And they're so related to one another that it seems appropriate that they would be run together. So
I would almost pat your party on the back if they don't have any combats before this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to hear my players talk, not just roll dice. But, like, it's part of combat is a pillar of play.
Yeah.
But when you have people that are like, we're 12 mods in to a tier 1 adventures, it's like, get me out of tier 1 now.
Yeah.
We've had so many mods, and it's like, thank goodness. I've been at level 4 because of the rules, the new rules. We've been at level 4 for so long.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, hey guys, let's get through this 2-hour mod and get to tier 2.
Right.
Like,
and I think this is a good mod to run. Like, even if you're gonna cut some of the extra tier 1 mods out of this season, I wouldn't cut this one because it's pretty pinnacle to the story of season 3, right?
The constant removal and
well, this is like the first one, right? Like, this is the first time it happens, so
visibly happens.
Visibly, sure. But I think like there's like some real kind of hooks here to get your players invested. So I wouldn't skip this module, but.
And they can establish, I think one last thing, is they, I believe, get to establish who would be the next good leader.
We're getting there. You're ahead of me again.
Sorry.
In conclusion, the encounter will end in total victory, mitigated victory, or abject defeat. Each have block text associated with them. The first 2 options are heroes can assist in installing new leadership in Hillsfire and gain a story reward. I don't know. I think it's tough to come back from failing this. I don't know if, like, the rest of the season makes sense if you fail this module, to be honest.
You walk away.
Like, you just kind of walk away. It's a tough call, but obviously you want to, like, enjoy the rest of the modules if you've spent time prepping them.
I think
the rest of the modules just aren't built for your failure here.
Well, but the location of the mods start changing.
That's true.
Like, maybe there's different impacts, but, like, you start going to the Underdark a lot more frequently. You deal with problems a little more aggressively. You're moving up from dealing with a Goblin crew to, like, the Goblin crew's boss. Like, so... failure is not good. But...
Right.
You're really longer in Hillsfar.
That's true.
Maybe you could say that the relationships around Hillsfar with your group are, like, real sour. That's not a bad idea. But, like...
It's definitely something you're going to have to come up with as a DM for the rest of the modules. Because the rest of the modules assume success here.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
Anyway, there it is. DDAL 3-14, Death on the Wall. Thank you so much for listening. Some advice to streamline and run it for your tables. Be a good neighbor. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Toll the Dead for notifications. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. And from now until the next time, roll together.